Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on your short list of qualified candidates using an online dashboard. Get started today at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast.
Good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN Radio. There is nothing wrong with your television. We're just not on it this morning, and that's okay. We are live from the Northern Trust, part of the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour at the Ridgewood Country Club in beautiful Paramus, New Jersey. It's also part of our fall football tour because the Giants and Jets play their annual Week 3 preseason game tonight. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. Boys, how are we?
Doing well. This is a beautiful place here, Ridgewood Country Club. Came out here yesterday with my old teammate Jeff Fiegels. I'll be here a little later. He and his wife Michelle, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. I think she turned 29.
Again?
Yes. And walking out around here, man, this is fantastic. We were by the groups where we saw Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson, Jason Day, Phil Mickelson. And as I've told you, Trey, I've started to play a little bit more golf. I really think I could have hung with the guys a little bit out here.
See,
I was looking at some of the shots.
Okay.
What?
You had me until I could have hung with the best players in the world.
I just meant walk with them.
Okay, that's fair.
I can hang out with them, knock a few drinks back.
Yeah, I can do that.
Because that was the frustrating part. Is I walked out here yesterday, and where we're situated right now is by the scoreboard, by one of the chipping and putting greens over here, and I see these guys over here practicing sand shots yesterday, and I am furious because they're just one after another rifling them out right next to the hole. And it was a reminder. I went over. They got a Top Golf set up here. They've got a whole food area. It's really nice. I said it's like a festival. I've never been to a PGA event.
So you've really never been to a PGA event?
No. So this is my first PGA event.
You picked a good one.
It's lovely here. It was a great day. But I'm walking around and it's set up like a music festival because you got the places for food, beverage, and then you've got all of the obviously golfers that you can go check out that are like the stage acts. But I'm watching dudes hit these sand shots. I go over to the Top Golf thing and I'm just turfing balls everywhere. Yeah. So it was a humbling reminder that I'm really bad at golf, and these guys are all incredible.
You know what was very cool, though? The places I found beer, they were like tall boys.
Yeah.
They were there. They were like the bigger than
like the baseball bats they serve at the Yard Goats game.
It was awesome.
Those are fantastic.
This is great, and places served entire pizzas.
Yeah.
I was walking around a tall boy and a whole pizza.
I'm telling you, the Venn diagram of music festival and PGA Tour event are really, there's almost a perfect circle.
The only thing missing was Happy Gilmore.
Exactly right. And I got to tell you, Junior's right. As we're set up, just to the right of our stage is the chipping area here at the Ridgewood Country Club. Just so you know, at some point I'm leaving the show.
There, huh?
I'm going to go over there and spend about an hour in the bunker.
You're going to be removed from the course should you go over there.
But I have a credential. I have a credential.
No, it's cool. We have backstage passes to Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Again, to be clear, we are here at the Ridgewood Country Club, live from the Northern Trust in Paramus, New Jersey, where the FedEx Cup playoffs are beginning on the PGA Tour. But I want to just explain how my evening began yesterday, because we're at our hotel, which is on Highway 17. Anybody's been on Highway 17, you know, once you're on one side of the road, you're not getting to the other side. You got to turn left to go right or right to turn left. That's the way it goes. So I'm walking out at about 7 o'clock to get a little bite to eat before I go down to watch what was a thrilling baseball / preseason football game.
Yes, it was.
When the final score rolled around. And I'm walking up, and I see in the near distance this figure walking towards me, and he's sort of ambling back and forth, left and right. He's got
very slovenly.
He's got tall socks on and shoes, and he's carrying some sort of like garbage bag in his right hand. And I get a little closer, and I'm like, oh my God. That's you.
Yeah.
It was you.
It was me.
You were walking as if you were looking for the next place to put up a sign that said, "We'll work for food."
Listen, I had to go get some food because when I was here, I had a couple of beers.
No.
And I needed a little absorption, okay? I mean, that's how it works.
I was telling Junior in the lobby as we were waiting for you this morning, your dad moseys like Dustin Johnson when he's had one or two. He does the Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson sort of swagger down the road.
It's this amazing phenomenon as he's getting pregame football fuel over there, getting all ratcheted up for Browns Eagles. Dad's got this walk where there's something wrong. He didn't properly rehab a knee injury, so he can't extend the leg all the way. So it kind of does make him do that bow-legged amble.
It was an amble.
The hallmark of Dad's look, though, is the Rock's high-top, like almost combat boot shoes with the high socks and a real loose old pair of shorts. That's when you know he's like a bear wandering around the woods in your house just rummaging for food.
Literally, I was about to flip out a 20, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't need it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I know you take it, but I know you don't need it. And they don't need any more stories of you ambling along Highway 17. So let's get started with what's trending. This is important. I'm not sure of that, but we'll find that out eventually. The Braves and Marlins met for the first time since August 15th when Miami starter Jose Urena plunked rookie Ronald Acuna Jr. with his first and only pitch. Acuna Jr. hit a mammoth 432-foot home run in the third inning, his 21st of the year and the 10th this month, and the Braves won 5-0.
Unbelievable. And the Marlins did hit Acuna
Unbelievable.
again. They hit him again. Now, it wasn't like it was the last time. First pitch of the game. It was the fourth pitch of the at-bat. The first three pitches were struck between strikes and foul balls and stuff. So it was a fourth pitch of the at-bat. So a little different this time around, but he did get hit again. Incredible. It's his fifth, he's the fifth 20-year-old baseballer in history to hit at least 10 home runs in a calendar month, joining a few Hall of Famers. How about Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, and Willie Mays, and Mike Trout, who will be in the Hall of Fame.
So really 4 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I mean, incredible what this kid is doing, and I do mean kid.
He's already tied for the second longest home run streak in franchise history. He's 3 behind Joe Adcock. So I don't know. It's pretty incredible to me, the run we're starting to see from a guy who, remember at the beginning of the year, I joked about the hat yesterday, but wasn't up in the majors right away. Obviously, there's that game you have to play for arbitration on down the line. But what he's meant to this franchise, and as we continue to look, I just keep going back to the conversations that we had with the commissioner talking about the faces of Major League Baseball and how you market them. This kid is primed for it. You've got a young kid who's got a little bit of style, and he's matching it with production. Let him flourish. Let's not squash the personality out of what could be one of the next faces of the game.
And the other thing that's helping him flourish is the fact that the Braves are actually irrelevant in the playoff race, unlike the situation with Mike Trout and the Angels. We continue. This is important. With more baseball, and Jacob deGrom had the most Jacob deGrom ever. He allowed the game ever. He allowed 1 earned run, struck out 10 in 6 innings, and took the L as Madison Bumgarner and the Giants beat the Mets 3-1.
Absolutely incredible what's going on. Remember, we were wondering if the Mets were going to trade this guy away around the trade deadline. Obviously, they did not, and now he's basically battling Aaron Nola and Max Scherzer, who, by the way, they battle themselves, and Nola outdueled Scherzer at Nationals Park on Thursday afternoon. And so it's those two and DeGrom battling for that Cy Young. Jacob deGrom has a 1.71 ERA. He's 8-8. So, Brett, I'm going to put you to work early here.
Careful now. Brett has a mic that he can use and access on his own.
I'm not telling you.
You are opening Pandora's box.
Brett, don't talk to me right now. I'd like this stat. The Cy Young winner with the least amount of wins. He is 8-8 right now. Yeah. He may not get another win all season, but may pitch brilliantly because he's getting zero help from his offense.
I'm just enjoying this driving home.
It's got to be Felix Hernandez, 13-12 that year.
Is that it? Oh, that is it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know? Or see, Stanzik is saying that, and he is not officially a reresearcher, so we can. You'd bet on that. Okay.
That's legal in New Jersey, by the way, so good job.
There you go.
Bet on that.
Well,
I forgot. I got to pull that up. I got to get some action going on in the show during this one. See, get a couple of tips on which golfers are doing well today. Anyway, no, you know what? If nothing else, maybe what we can take out of this is sort of the same thing we always talk about with quarterback wins in football, but using wins, losses, any sort of metric for starting pitching. Maybe we can finally shove that behind us just because we have such a glaring example of ineptitude on the part of the Mets offense, completely refusing to bail out what is one of the greatest pitchers that we have.
I mean, it is remarkable. An ERA well under 2. And he's 500.
8 wins, and the guys
season.
I mentioned he's battling. Scherzer has 16 wins. Nola has 15 wins. So those guys obviously ahead of him in that category.
All right, we continue. Again, we are at the Northern Trust at the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey. Second round action getting underway a little bit later on this morning. First round action, Tiger Woods did what he always does in first rounds on tour events this year. Failed to break par for the 12th time in 15 tournaments as he shot an even par 71 at his opening round here at the Northern Trust. He's 5 shots back of the lead and tees off today just before 1 o'clock. And after his first round, Tiger said it was a round of halvesies for him.
Today was one of those days where I kept having the half club. You know, I was right between clubs. And with the greens being as soft as they are, I had to go with more club, and I just wasn't quite hitting close. Just didn't have the situations where I had the full club and I could go ahead and take a rip at it and start being aggressive going after these flags. I kept having to play a little bit defensive because I was taking more club, trying to shape it, trying to take spin off, and just one of those days.
Man, I know exactly what he's talking about. That half club, you just get caught.
Yeah, except yours is a halfway drive off the tee that goes about 110 yards.
Yeah, yesterday was the best day of golf for me because what do you call when they can pick it up in the fairway and clean it
lift,
up?
clean, and play.
Lift, clean, and play because there was wet here in the morning, but the golfers get to do it all day. I said, wait, that's a rule like you can't do that other days?
Yeah, we need to talk.
I thought you could do that all the time.
See,
we need to have a real conversation.
If you're going to go all in and be golf Golic now, we've got to get you up to date on some of the finer
He
points
is
of the
going
game.
a little golf Golic.
I do, but
I feel like I've done my job here in the first 9 months of this show, if nothing else for that.
Let's give a little love to the leaders, and one of them is Jamie Lovemark. Did you see how I did that?
No, explain it to me.
Please, God.
Lovemark, Tway, Taylor, and O'Hare 5 under. There are 13 players at 4 under as well. So all setting up again. 125 players here. Knocks down to 100 for the next, and I think 70 for the third, and then down to 30 for the fourth of the FedEx playoffs here. So to see who's going to win their $10 million.
Yeah, and again, right now Tiger Woods is 11th in point standings for the for the Ryder Cup team.
Right.
And you pick 12. There are the 8 that qualify that 4 captains picks. The reason I bring that up is our good friend, PGA Ryder Cup captain, Jim Furyk, is going to be with us later on in the show. We Jimmy.
Since we can bet now in Jersey, what are the odds we get him to tell us if Tiger's on the team or not?
0%.
Oh, yeah, no, we're
by the way, the other odds that Tiger will be on the team, 140%.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
By the way, where's Phil Mickelson right now in Ryder Cup points?
I believe he's outside the top 12.
All right, then this feeds into my theory that Phil was trying to Kobe Bryant his way into the discussion the other day, because remember when he was talking about the smack talk, he said, I'm hoping to be teammates with him in the Ryder Cup. That's the Kobe Bryant, why don't we celebrate everyone's championships? Jordan's, LeBron's, mine. Classic mental warfare there by Phil. Really well done.
Absolutely. And again, we'll see what happens when the second round here gets underway. By the way, the sun has come up and suddenly I can see this course and it is absolutely
beautiful.
lovely.
It is beautiful.
All right, we continue with what's trending. Tonight could be the night. 10:30 Eastern on ESPN, the third installment of the newest MLS rivalry, El Tráfico, which makes all the sense in the world if you've ever been to Los Angeles, as the LA Galaxy and our guy, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, host LAFC in front of a sold-out crowd at the StubHub Center. Zlatan is just 2 goals shy of 500 for his career, the only current players in soccer or football that can make that claim of 500 professional goals, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
And what did he say when you interviewed him about getting that 500? Do we have it?
We have it. Let's listen to Zlatan talking about what will happen to his next 500th.
I'm 2 goals away from 500, so let's see who my victim will be for that number.
Awesome. I mean, is there anything more awesome than that?
Yes.
He was fantastic in that interview. He was as advertised. So
he was just great.
Yeah, very, very cool. Looking forward to that.
By the way, they held a press conference with him yesterday, and they were asking him about him. And, he's like, is there a good rivalry? Do you worry about the LFC? He goes, no, I don't worry about LFC. They just have to deal with me.
Yeah.
They just have to
all try and do the accent.
He said they just have to suffer me, is what he said. They just have to suffer me.
Zlatan has spawned a legion of poorly executed accents and impressions nationwide as he's come to America. It's one of his greatest gifts to us. But now, so what would it be? It'd be 123 games in between his 400th and 500 goal, which is surpassing his own personal record of 124 between 300 and 400. So the dude's been scoring at a hell of a clip, and it's been great to watch here, as I think we have this conversation around the World Cup and around the Olympics of soccer traction in the U.S. It's been gaining traction, but having someone like him who's got the personality to draw in, we always say U.S. soccer needs a homegrown star. Well, he's proving that maybe we just need a little more personality, because that's what we ask of our NFL guys. That's what we're talking about in Major League Baseball. That's something that's sort of cookie cutter across the board, is if you get a big enough personality, people are going to look wherever that is.
And again, people need to understand Messi and Ronaldo are much smaller people compared to Zlatan is a big dude, and the way he's been able to work his frame to get to the precipice of 500 goals is really impressive. So let's give him our MVP moment of the week. It's brought to you by Sport Clips. Check in online at sportclips.com/check-in and claim your spot today. And we finish up what's trending. This is important. With a baseball game in Cleveland last night, which was actually a preseason football game. 5-0 as the Browns blanked the Eagles. Again, the final score, always irrelevant in a preseason game unless it's an unusual one, like 5-0. By the way, the scoring was done with It's like 10 minutes to go in the second quarter. We didn't see anything else. But, guys, the story of that game yesterday was the number of star players that went down and you held your breath. The biggest one came on the first scoring drive or what would have been the first scoring drive of the night. They had converted on fourth down for the Browns. Tyrod Taylor on fourth down trying to throw, fell awkwardly on his left wrist, and absolutely everyone on Twitter went nuts. Luckily, the x-rays were negative. He came back into the game, but Hugh Jackson was asked afterwards about Tyrod's injury.
Tyrod Taylor, what was his injury? How concerned were you?
I was very concerned. It's a hand, because I wasn't sure anytime your starting quarterback goes into the locker room, you're not sure. But he came back, obviously went back in the game. So we'll continue to look at it and see where we are as we head into next week.
They showed that thing in slow motion, and there are a lot of people that thought the wrist maybe dislocated when you saw it. And
broken.
The way he came up and held it and ran off the field, I mean, that's when you kind of know something's wrong.
Right.
And I was stunned he came back in the game. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Taylor was saying, put me back in the game. He knows what's going on. Right. He knows it's a matter of time before Baker Mayfield is going to replace him and needs to play as well as he can to showcase for another team. I think he wanted to get – because all of a sudden you see him walking off the field, glove was off, everything was off, and then he's back on the field, gloves on, tapes on, and he wanted to play. I don't know why they played him.
I have
no idea why they played him.
I would have put him in bubble wrap.
There is no way I would have played him. And then later in the game, Baker Mayfield, he gets sacked. His head kind of bent weirdly hitting another player, and he didn't come back in the game, so he was injured. I mean, you want to talk about a scare for the Browns.
5-0 reeks of a defensive struggle, but last night these defensive lines were wreaking havoc in both backfields. Nick Foles was constantly under siege. Myles Garrett and that Browns defense looked great. But, man, we could talk all about it. You can want to be out there as much as you want.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackson has been beating on the table, telling anyone who will listen, Tyrod's my week one starter. Yeah. And why do you put him out there and treat him in a way that shows me anything but
Couldn't
that?
Agree more.
You got the little taste you needed of blood that, oh my God, we could lose this guy. Let's throw him right back in there and see how this goes. I was
stunned. And like I said, the player wanted to go back in, and a lot of times you got to protect the player from himself.
Yeah.
Tyrod, you're our starter. Go sit down. All is fine. So I can't believe they put him back in. Nick Foles, by the way, you look at his stat line, 13 of 17, 127 yards, and think, oh, pretty good. Except he tripped over his own feet in the end zone.
Yeah. By the way, a push from Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was unbelievable.
And got a safety there. Had a couple of interceptions. He did not look good at all. Both offensive lines struggled mightily. And you're right, Mike, both the D lines. Both defenses seemed more aggressive last night, and certainly from Cleveland's side with Greg Williams as a D coordinator, that's not a shock at all.
Hard knocks in the walkie-talkie. Remind them we are competing. Yeah. We are competing. We'll get to the Eagles side of this in a minute, but as we were waiting to come over here in the morning, Junior and I had a conversation, and I thought last night was a very interesting social experiment on Twitter. As soon as Tyrod Taylor went down, everyone was like, "Oh my, it's over! I feel so bad for Tyrod." You said something. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst. This is awful, and I think that all of us as football fans are now conditioned in preseason to expect disaster. I mean, we expect that to be the norm, right?
Well, I think last night especially we've seen, and I'd be interested, Brett, we're going to put you to work again, the number of injuries in preseason through, when we get to the end, it'll probably be a better encapsulation, but the injuries from last year to the year before, because for concussions, we had that presentation from the league at ESPN last week, and they talked about the instances, the number of concussions during the preseason has been on the rise the last 3 years. I wonder if the amount of regular, non-head injuries has matched that rise, because it seemed like it from our outside perspective. Last night was the perfect nexus of that, because you had a guy in Tyrod who, through Hard Knocks and through everything else, everyone is sort of invested in at this point.
Yes.
By all accounts, he's an unbelievable guy. We know what his story through the NFL has been, and so everyone's kind of rooting for this guy. He's become a likable character, and you have that coupled with what could have potentially been a season-ending injury.
It is amazing, though, because look what happened in the game last night. Everyone freaked out when Tyrod went down. Denzel Ward hurt his back, did not come back. We saw Hubbard, the offensive lineman, go down for the Browns.
Jason Kelsey
went down for the Eagles. Fletcher Cox was down for a while. Yeah. I mean, when you get to the third preseason game, it is really like, Lord, just please protect my guys.
You want him to get up after every play, and when you don't see it, now again, Hubbard came back in, Kelsey came back in, Tyrod Taylor came back in.
Should not have come back in, but did come back in.
I am amazed. I got to know, did Hugh Jackson get asked that after the game of why you would bring him back?
Brett, get
in
on
the
that.
game?
Tyrod Taylor looked like he was holding around. You know how in movies the guy will put his hand inside and hold the prosthetic? That's what his hand looked like towards the end of the game last night. He was so clearly favoring it. He was handing the ball off with two hands instead of one. He did take snaps under center, so clearly it was good enough to do that. But it just all seems so wildly unnecessary because you guys know this. The third preseason game, as much as the intensity seemed ratcheted up, this is still not a game-planned game.
No. This
is still one where some of these guys, you wonder with the starters how much they actually want to go out there and turn it all the way up, how much they're just looking forward to the regular season. It's such a mixed bag that putting your starter in harm's way like that seemed insane.
Made no sense to me. To that point, Todd Gurley of the Rams announced he's not playing in any preseason games, and he says it's the dream.
He didn't announce it was his decision. He just said he was told he's not going to play. It's
and
not
that's
like
the dream. He said that's the dream.
Yeah.
So, again, thankfully, the thing with Tyrod Taylor came out okay. We'll see what happens with all the other injuries going forward. Again, Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance live today from New Jersey for the Giants-Jets matchup there every year, Week 3 preseason game. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is kind of a big deal. Covered what you work so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com. All right, coming up, the ultimate safety net looks like it has some holes in it. Plus, we have progress reports that people here in northern New Jersey are going to be very happy with. We'll get to all of that, Mike, after this.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Golic and Wingo, glad you're with us live from the Northern Trust at the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey for the first stop in the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
We're going to pay off, I asked the least amount of wins for a Cy Young winner. Now, a lot of people, including our own producer Dan Stanzik, said Felix Hernandez, which is one of the correct answers. He did that in 2010. He was 13-12. The other, 1981, strike-shortened season. Trey, you'll know this name.
Yes.
Fernando Valenzuela.
Absolutely.
Also 13 wins.
With the big kick, and he threw blind, but he looked up like that.
Looked up right before his pitch. The reason we're saying that, Jacob deGrom is probably one of three. Aaron Nola from the Phillies and Max Scherzer from the Nationals, and deGrom probably the top three in the running for the Cy Young in the National League, and deGrom is 8-8. So he's got to do we see deGrom getting 5 more wins this year?
No chance.
The way the offense is not helping
chance.
him? So if he wins the Cy Young, he's got a really good shot to set a record along with it. There you go.
The most dubious kind of record.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, he's been the good soldier all the way along through this, even through the talks of him potentially being dealt around the trade deadline. Every step of the way, he's given you the right answer. He's been a great representative for this organization, and they've just refused to reward him with any sort of offense. So at some point, you would like to think that would change just because he seems like a good enough guy and because he's giving us an all-world pitching performance like we're used to seeing. But I should learn to really kind of guard my expectations with the Mets.
So, yeah.
Well, perhaps the most important thing is he's doing his best to put to rest the idea that wins matter, whether or not you're a good pitcher.
And by the way, the two I mentioned he's in competition with Scherzer leads the National League with 16 wins, and Nola has 15 wins. So there you go.
If nothing else, it's probably his season of hell, but thank you, Jacob deGrom, for being the final thing that proves wins and losses don't matter and prove whether or not you had a good season as a pitcher. All right, it is time for the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Look, it was pretty clear that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to win the Super Bowl last season because two backups played out of their minds. Nick Foles stepped in during the postseason and did a remarkable job filling in for Carson Wentz at the quarterback position, including his play on Super Bowl Sunday where he was the MVP. It was just remarkable. But perhaps even more, just as important, was the play of left tackle Halapuli Vaitai when Jason Peters, arguably the best left tackle in football, went down. He played great. Well, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle because if week 3, the final dress rehearsal for the starters in the preseason before you get to week 1 is any indication, the shine may have come off both of those players because Myles Garrett might as well have been in the huddle in the backfield for the Eagles all game long that he was in there. Vaitai struggled mightily, and Nick Foles did not look right.
No, he didn't at all. I mean, you talk about this game alone. As I said, you look at the stats. That's why stats can lie. 13 of 17, 127 yards.
Played great.
But 2 picks, sacked 3 times, stripped for a fumble, and down for a safety, of which he tripped over his own feet and fell in the end zone, and then Myles Garrett tagged him for the safety. And it is worse, though. He hasn't led the Eagles' first-team offense to a point on 14 drives over 3 games. So I'm sure there are many people, and are we them as well, that are worrying about Nick Foles starting the season when Carson Wentz says he wants to be able to start the season. Everybody's saying, whoa, 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 don't start this season. But Nick Foles struggling right now.
Well, listen, you're not the only one that's curious about it. Head coach Doug Peterson clearly not happy with the first-team offense.
First of all, I'm disappointed in the offense. I don't want to single out one player, so don't put this all on Nick. Disappointed in the offense. And it's not what you want, obviously, in the third preseason week. Listen, it's one of those things where we still keeping things very, very vanilla, and we still want to evaluate and make sure, we're doing we got the right guys in the right spots. Now we turn our attention, obviously we got one more preseason game and then turn our attention to Atlanta week 1.
No doubt the difficulties for both these teams, Mike, were the O-lines. There was struggling going on both. You saw, as we mentioned, Hubbard gets hurt for the Browns. He's out for a little bit, comes back in. Kelsey hurt for the Eagles, but he comes back in. But, boy, for trying to all come together as a unit in this third game, those parts of the team for both teams struggled big time.
Yeah, and especially at the tackle position, it seems like edge pressure was really in vogue last night, which is surprising. Obviously, Vaitai in there on the left side, but he's a guy that played a lot of football last year. And on the other side, you had Lane Johnson, who was really holding up much better than the rest of this. I heard Troy Aikman in the booth saying he thought Philly was the best O-line in football. They did not have his back last night in the game. And it made me start to wonder because it's easy to get caught up in the mania of what we've seen on Hard Knocks and to start to buy into this Browns team. But that pass rush looked really good last night.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We understand it's an aggressive Greg Williams defense, but seeing the individual effort from Myles Garrett and Dad, the first thing that popped into my mind, and I don't mean this as a comparison, but just thinking about Reggie and the physical skill set that he possessed, the amount of speed a guy of Myles Garrett's size has, him getting guys upfield, everyone looks off balance when they're trying to block him. It's just these things that only a handful of guys on earth can pull off, and he's one of them, and he did it over and over and over again last night.
One of the big things, like, each year we see different things, especially on that D line of working on. At one point, it became in vogue to work with the karate guys, and do the hands and thing. Now, it's the edge guys and the real emphasis of getting off on the ball, of getting that jump on that tackle, to make that tackle have to declare whether jump out at him, whether open up too much like he's opening the gate. And Garrett fits the mold incredibly well for that first step off the ball. Now, I mean, he is basically, by his second step, dealing on that tackle and has that tackle he can go a two-way on him because we've seen him come inside, go outside. So he's done a nice job, that D-line. I'm really happy for my former teammate in Clyde Simmons, who's coaching that D-line there in Cleveland, who was a great pass rusher himself, so they're getting great tutelage there of what they're doing. But really, both defenses, they seem to be way more aggressive last night and willing to throw the kitchen sink at each team a little more.
Well, let me ask you this question, and it's a little bit unfair because the guy got hurt last night. We don't know what the situation is with Denzel Ward.
Right.
What you just talked about, Junior, with the way Myles Garrett can attack the quarterback, and there's only a certain number of people in the world that have that physical skill set. Another guy that has that physical skill set is Bradley Chubb, who the Browns passed on. And listening to what you guys were just saying, talking about how aggressive they were at getting after the quarterback. Hindsight's 20/20, and we'll find out how it plays out. But imagine if you put Bradley Chubb into that mix.
No, I understand it. Now, part of that was the Browns' confidence in the rest of their D-line roster. Was it Emmanuel Agba? Agba is in there. Carl Nassib, who we've seen very vocal on Hard Knocks.
Very high on Agba.
But more than anything is when you think of all this, I also see with Greg Williams, you see a lot of bodies around the line of scrimmage, a lot of cover zero in certain situations, and you need great press corners. Like Denzel Ward's alma mater is the perfect example of that. If you go watch an Ohio State game, we're all going to focus on the chaos up front. I'm way more interested in just how they plaster guys on the back end of that defense. Ohio State's defense is made by the stellar defensive back play, and that's just trying to mimic that at the NFL level. They understood what they needed there. If he'll be on the field now is the key concern for them.
I get that, and what you're saying makes all the sense in the world. But to me, it boils down to this. The best a plaster corner can do is get rid of one guy. If you can get 5 guys to the quarterback, you're getting rid of all the guys.
But those 5 guys can only get there when they've got the time. I'm telling you, I think we just discount because it's that one-on-one effect of a guy right there. He's allowing all the rest of those guys to turn it loose, to have more time to do that. I think it's such a difference maker in a defense like that demands activity up front.
If there are two positions that can wash each other, it's a pass rusher and cover corner. Yeah. So you know we talk about the top players when we see getting paid, the quarterbacks, the tackles, and then you get pass rushers, you get lockdown corners. So they're all right in that same category.
They are, but again, with the way the league is going, it's so much harder to try and cover somebody. And I get it, you have to be ginger when you get around the quarterback, but you can still get to him and disrupt everything. To me, let's assume Denzel Ward is completely healthy, comes back and plays. To me, to justify the pick, it's not about what Denzel Ward does. It may be about how Emmanuel Agba plays.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, they didn't draft him for a reason. They like the other guys on the line, so let's see what they do.
How much do we talk about Marshawn Lattimore and the effect that he had on the Saints last year as a rookie on that defense? Yeah. You pair that kind of play with the kind of play that they got out of Cam Jordan last year in New Orleans up front. That marriage of defensive back and usually outside pass rush can be a fruitful one, and I think that's kind of what you look for. When you pick Denzel, you're hoping for that Marshawn Lattimore level of production. And I believe that's what you can get.
Yes, but the only counter that I would say, Junior, was look at Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware when they were together in Denver. Now, granted, they had great cover corners there, but sometimes having that pass rush makes the corner even a little bit better. Look, it's unanswerable. But again, I do think, because I remember we talked about this before the draft, and you kept saying you heard that they were really high on Emmanuel Agba. To me, what Denzel Ward does is not going to be as relevant as to how well that guy plays.
Well, yeah, let's see what Chubb does.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's wait and see what goes
Von Miller. His life's great.
Yeah, there you go.
It's true.
Thank you.
True.
You're making my point for me. And that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Okay, we still have 3 protracted holdouts from superstar players as we get closer and closer to week 1 of the NFL season, and it feels like one of those might be closest to a resolution, and it might make folks here in Paramus, New Jersey very, very happy. We'll get to that after this.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
SportsCenter brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club's amazing shower, hairstyling, oral care, and yes, shaving products. So no matter how you get ready, they have everything you need. And right now, you can get an amazing deal on any one of their starter sets at dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
Can I just say there's nothing mild about Saquon Barkley's hamstrings, quads, calves, anything?
Well, it's like
nothing.
I know we're hopefully going to talk to Mark Schlereth here in a little bit, but it's like he always used to say as an offensive lineman, you don't have a hamstring, you have a ham cord.
Yeah.
Well,
Saquon's got a few ham cords tied together, wrapped around a turkey leg.
Well, going along those lines with what Stink used to say, there's no such thing as a minor surgery unless it's not on you.
Right.
Yeah, it's a minor surgery when it's on you. When it's on somebody else, it's just a minor surgery. Yeah. It's never a minor
not when
surgery.
You're laying on the table looking up at someone.
Exactly, laying on the table about to get cut open. Glad you're with us, Golic and Wingo. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, we're out here at the Northern Trust at the Ridgewood Country Club, the Northern Trust event at the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey. Stop one of the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. Just to our right, I'm looking at Billy Horschel and others on the chipping surface over there. And just beyond that, I was watching Patrick Reed, Horschel, and Kyle Stamblich, among others, putting on the putting green.
Reed was trying to wave me over to hit some out of the bunker with him.
I thought he was waving you away and telling security, keep that guy away from me.
Oh, is that it?
That's the way I interpret it.
I just had no idea that it was standard procedure for these guys to all shotgun beers in between shots. It is really getting loose out here.
Can I tell you something? Just doing a show on radio, the theater of the mind is taking over the program at this point.
Well done.
But we are here in Paramus, New Jersey, and I have to say, as I was driving down Highway 17 to get to the hotel last night, two things I stopped by, which is just summed it up. Number one, anybody that's a fan of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
All right?
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people. We passed the Bada Bing, the place where they shot the Bada Bing, which was the club that Tony Soprano and everybody owned. And you never disrespect the Bing. Mm-hmm. So number one. Number two, right past the Bing, in a straight line, three shops next to each other. A weed shop, a smoke shop, a tattoo parlor, and a psychic reading.
There you go.
So really, you got everything there. All you need is that automatic check cash place,
that's it.
and all your personal needs are taken care of. Right in a row.
Feels really nice to have it all there by the hotel, too. It was one-stop shopping for me yesterday. I went right from the Dunkin' Donuts on
Did you get a new tattoo last night or something that I don't know about?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there room for a new tattoo on you?
I'm a little concerned. It's not healing over very well.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you've got the sweatshirt on this morning. So we mentioned there are three big holdouts still in the NFL. Khalil Mack and the Raiders, who knows what's going on there. We believe that Aaron Donald and the Rams are in the same zip code, but we don't know if that letter's going to be delivered anytime soon. And then there's Odell Beckham Jr., who is not going to play in the preseason. He's not going to play in Game 3 coming up tonight between the Giants and the Jets. But it appears that they are getting very, very close.
Yeah, this one I think we all believe is going to get done. He's going to be and should be and deserves to be at this point. It's all a timing thing. Yep. The highest paid wide receiver in the league. The highest right now, average, what is it? Antonio Brown, I believe it's 17 or 17.5 mil a year. So he's going to be in that range or a little bit more. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But this one's going to get done. All signs point toward that. And listen, he decided that there are the guys like Mack and Aaron Donald that weren't going to show up. He said, our new coaching staff, he went to the OTAs, he went to the mini camps, he went to training camp. He said, I'm going to do this on my part, good faith on my part, not stepping on the field in the preseason game, completely understandable. And, and trying not to get hurt as we see player after player go down and the chance he's taken. But it's all going to pay off, and he's going to get to be the highest paid, which is what he should. And the Giants are going to get the most important piece of their offense back.
It reminds you how individually tailored all of these situations are with guys getting ready to hand out big contracts, because we've heard the argument that holding out really doesn't net you the same benefit that we always thought it did. It's always touted as the only weapon that players have. Well, Odell Beckham Jr.'s best weapon was the fact that when he's on the field, he's Odell Beckham Jr., and he had to show this team something different than a lot of these other cases. It's not like Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack where we look and say there's this ironclad case for a payday, because they've been a problem in no way, shape, or form for these outfits. But based on where these teams are at otherwise, it's their only recourse at this point. So as we constantly judge these situations, it's a reminder that they're such individual fits.
Yeah, we'll get into the Khalil Mack situation a little bit later, because there's a lot going on there. But the Donald thing is interesting. How long have we heard they're close? Okay? I mean, it feels like we've been expecting this to happen for quite some time, and we're still nowhere closer to the line being moved to actually signing a piece of paper than we were maybe 3 months ago.
Also, how many other players are they going to sign?
Yeah.
The Cooks, Gurley, obviously, and the right tackle was
Haverstein.
They extended his deal as well.
That one felt petty at the end. That's just twisting the knife.
I mean, they're all getting their money, man. And there's Aaron Donald. I still would be just stunned if that deal gets done. There's no way you could let that guy not be on the field or end up with another team. You just can't do it.
Yeah, you were kidding and saying that Patrick Reed was waving you over. My boy Kevin Streelman in the bunker just did call me over, so there you go.
My boy.
He was Streels with a beautiful shot out of the bunker right there.
He's actually looking at
me. Straight money right there.
He's actually looking at me.
No, he
okay.
isn't.
Yeah,
coming up, we got a preseason scare, a juicy trade rumor, and a $9 million match. That plus Kevin Streelman's excellent out of the bunker. Stay with us.
Shameless.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on your short list of qualified candidates using an online dashboard. Get started today at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast.
Oh, good Friday morning. Glad you're with us on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN Radio. Live from the Northern Trust at the Widgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey, part of the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. I got to tell you, the sun is coming up. We had a little chill in the air this morning. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. And this is just a perfect morning to get you ready for what's coming with the start of the football season.
It really is. I mean, we had the game last night with the Eagles and Browns. We'll obviously talk about a bunch of games tonight, including one of the reasons we're here in Jersey, Giants against the Jets, their annual third preseason game against one another. But here at the FedEx Cup playoffs in Paramus at Ridgewood Country Club, it is beautiful. I've only been on a PGA course a couple of times when Greenie and I golfed in the Shell Houston Open.
A lot of water on that course.
The Pro-Am a few times. Golfing, listen, hitting on a PGA prepared course, it's ridiculous. But being able to just walk around and look in the tee boxes and watch the Phil Mickelsons and Jordan Spieth yesterday and teeing off and playing, and they're very good with the crowds as well. I mean, that is something you see them just hit the tee box, but walking down, they're very nice with everybody. It's a cool thing to do. It's to see. It's such a relaxed type of atmosphere. Now, again, it was Thursday, and not Sunday. Maybe that had something to do with it. But boy, it is beautiful here and going to be a great day.
They're being really nice to Trey too. Trey keeps wandering over to the chip and putt and harassing these golfers, and they're kind enough to come over there and give them a moment of time.
I love that you call it the chip and putt.
Yeah,
there's the putting green and the chipping area.
It's the chip and putt.
They're chipping and putting. I mean,
chip and putt.
Is that wrong?
Yes, I feel like there should be a windmill that someone's driving through.
There should be a windmill. These guys are supposedly pros. I'm hitting with obstacles when I play.
Chip and putt.
But to see Trey over there fanboy, and he goes and stands by the ropes and hey guys, and oddly enough, they come over and talk to you.
Yeah, that's right, they do.
And then you slip them a 20 when they're walking away. Thanks for that.
Yeah, like the guys on tour that are playing for $10 million in this event need my $20.
No, they slipped you. You slipped them a 20.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, they need my 20.
Yeah,
like they're
exactly.
playing for $10
it's the friendship payment.
Okay, you guys. Anyway, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Let's start every hour how we do or how I want to do every hour by going over to the chip and putt. No. We'll do what's trending instead.
Chip and putt's
nice. Important. And this is important, actually, for the Cleveland Browns. Best possible news. X-rays were negative on starting quarterback Tyrod Taylor's wrist and hand, but they are having more tests Friday, guys, because on a 4th and 1, he landed awkwardly on an incomplete pass near the goal line.
So he rolls left, throws the ball, and falls on his left arm. And the way they showed it in slow motion, you almost thought like his wrist like slid or maybe dislocated. That's what people had thought, but it was his hand they were worried about. But the way he was down for a minute, got up, held his arm, and ran off the field. Players seem to really know when something is bad, and when he did that, you thought, uh-oh. Walked into the locker room. He had a glove on the left hand. That glove was off. Came back out and came back into the game. I was stunned, A, that he was back on the field even ready to play again, and B, that they put him back in the game.
for a guy that has been touted as the unquestioned Week 1 starter. It's not like the rest of these rookie quarterback situations where there's at least some shadow of doubt. There's the illusion of competition, even if it's not there. There's been no illusion here. Baker Mayfield has been firmly third string at this point. It's been a glaring lack of first-team reps to the point where that was kind of the joke last night. Made no sense to me, as did the offensive sequence of play calls that led to that injury.
Thank you so much. That was driving me nuts. For those that didn't see the game last night, all right, they got down to the goal line thanks in a large part to a huge run by Carlos Hyde to the right, then another 20-plus yard run by Nick Chubb. Then there was the pass to David Njoku. I get it, but the running game was working.
Yes.
They had a first and goal from the one, they threw it four straight times.
Unreal.
I don't care. There's never a reason for that. Never.
It was a fourth down play by Tyrod Taylor that ended up being the one to get him almost injured in this situation. And I sat there and thought, if that ridiculous sequence of play calls led to Tyrod Taylor's injury, I will never forgive Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley, whoever was calling the plays.
Yeah, it's Todd Haley for sure. And at that point, so Tyrod goes out, and this is what happens in football or any sport with an injury. Now Baker Mayfield, listen, he has an opportunity. He even said after the game, you never want it to happen that way, but it's your opportunity. He said, I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't play very well. Tyrod went 11 of 16 for 65 yards. Baker went 8 of 12 for 76 yards. Threw a bad interception. He struggled out there at times. Threw some nice passes. The first third down, I think it was 8 or 9. He threw a nice out route pass. Threw some good passes. Then had some bad plays as well, including that interception. He wasn't happy with the way he played, and then he got hurt in the fourth quarter. He got sacked, and as he was falling forward, his head hit, I think it was his own teammate's hip, and kind of bent him backward a little bit, so he was injured as well. It looks like both are going to be just fine, but all the way back to Taylor, just absolutely stunned that he went back in that game.
And by the way, he did not speak after the game, and Hugh Jackson says the x-rays were negative, but there will be more tests Friday. And again, Junior, to your point, when he was handing off with two hands. He was very ginger after that game. So the fact that the x-rays were negative is good, but the fact that he's undergoing more tests Friday, and if there is something wrong and they put him back in the game, it would be the most Cleveland Browns thing
ever.
I
could see him wanting to go back in the game, no doubt about it, but I mean, that's where you save the player from himself. Hey, Tyrod, you're our starter. You just ran out the field holding your hand. I know that x-rays were negative. Go ahead and sit down. The rest of the game, we're good. Yeah. But no, he goes back in the game.
We'll see what happens. Again, more tests for Tyrod Taylor's wrist on Friday. We continue. How about this one? The Jets are reportedly interested in bolstering their pass rush in a major way. According to Manish Mehta of the New York Daily News, the Jets have inquired about the availability of one Khalil Mack in Oakland. Of course, Mack has had a protracted holdout situation there. In fact, the last time we talked to Adam Schefter about this, Mike, the Raiders and Mack had not had contract talks since February.
Yeah, and one of the comments John Gruden had made was, when the talks of Khalil and how good he is, saying, well, the defense didn't do too well last year with him. I mean, really just not. And he has since said, obviously, what a great player he is and such. But the lack of communication there is amazing. So you wonder, again, how do you put this guy on the trading block? How is he not being paid? Now, again, you're in a situation, and this is what's going to happen. You're going to have two guys making what had been quarterback money. You have Derek Carr who got paid, and now you're talking about Mack in the $20 million or so range. That used to be the quarterback money, which is even going up now. You have to start managing that as well. You're just going to have to do it. Because they're in that situation where, like, the Rams aren't, because they haven't had to pay Goff yet. They're going to pay Donald while they're paying everybody else. But I would be stunned for a team that's getting ready to go to Vegas to have a guy of this magnitude on defense who is an all-pro at two positions, to not have him there blows my mind. As far as the Jets' cap space, they have just under $17 million in cap space. If they were to be done with Teddy Bridgewater, if he's not on the team, that would be another $5 million, so they could have over $20 million if they wanted to work something out, or another team with a trade. But I'd still be it would blow my mind if Khalil Mack isn't on the Raiders. The Raiders don't want him in their move over to Vegas.
Yeah, I always think of it, and obviously there's a lot of holes to plug in the dam that is the Raiders defense, but if you can have one firmly in there and understand that, it's going to be a big payday, but at that point it's at least a certainty and an uncertain side of the ball for you as you make a lot of these decisions. You can work that around one guy who you always look for, and we always talk about it, the centerpiece of a defense. And that guy is the centerpiece of your defense, unquestionably. It's just a matter matter of if this new regime now is going to feel like they're beholden and bowing to one guy as they get ready for this rebuild.
Well, let's be clear. That new regime is one guy, and that's John Gruden, their new head coach. And as much as you guys like to make fun of me fanboying over some golfers, the entire Raider Nation has fanboyed out massively over John Gruden coming back. Remember when Mark Davis announced the press conference, he said this is a big effing deal. Yeah. Okay? And people have gone nuts. I'm going to be very curious to see what the Raider Nation reaction is if, in some way, shape, or form, John Gruden, who is the regime, let's not mince words, he is in charge of everything. If somehow, some way, he decides that he doesn't need Khalil Mack on his team, and how the team and the fan base is going to feel about that. Yeah. Because that's a centerpiece. That's a guy that you sacrifice other players and other positions to make sure you lock down. And if somehow he gets out of the building and out of the franchise, well, that's going to be a real head-scratcher.
Just to play the other side of this, kind of an interesting note, we're talking about paying Donald all that money and Mack all that money and Odell all that money. And then there's a team like the New England Patriots who never pays players like that, and they have a ton of rings.
Yeah, they do.
So you wonder if coaches are starting to think that way and saying outside of maybe your quarterback position, now Tom Brady took less, to the other positions. We've seen what New England has done. Trade away those guys before big deals.
I refuse to count New England in this hole because when you get the best quarterback in the sport to constantly take pay cuts, you are grading on an entirely different scale. To me, they're different than everyone else in the league.
And literally, and the rings prove that. They are different than everyone else in the league. And we finish up what's trending with a little baseball. The Braves and Marlins met for the first time since August 15th when Jose Urena plunked rookie Ronald Acuna Jr. with his first and only pitch. And guess what happened in the rematch? Acuna decided, hey, I'm still here. Just a 432-foot home run in the third inning, his 21st of the year and 10th this month.
Absolutely ridiculous what he's doing. He's the fifth 20-year-old in baseball history to hit at least 10 home runs in a calendar month, joining 3 Hall of Famers, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, Willie Mays, and future Hall of Famer Mike Trout as well. But he got hit again. Now, this time he got hit. He got hit in the 6th inning. But it was the 4th pitch of the at-bat. It wasn't the first one where they weren't right at him. It was the 4th pitch of the at-bat, so a little different. But still, guys got to be sick of getting hit by the Marlins. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it's becoming way too much of a trend. But as is him just crushing dingers, not leadoff dingers in this situation, but just what a stretch from a young player that this franchise can look to build around. What he's done since getting up into the majors, 286 batting average, 355 on base, 571 slugging. Guy's incredible.
He just started in the leadoff slot July 20th after the All-Star break.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic, and again, he continues to hit dingers at record-setting pace. All right, Golic and Wingo with you here on ESPN Radio. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. Again, we are here for round 2 of the Northern Trust, the first stop in the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. It was an interesting first day. There are 5 atop the leaderboard at 5 under par. Tiger Woods is not one of them. No. For the 12th time in his 15 tour events in his amazing comeback season of 2018 from spinal fusion surgery at the age of 42. He is at 71, even par after the first round, 5 strokes back of the lead. But obviously, as we saw with what went on at the PGA Championship, a lot of times it doesn't matter what else happens because the needle, Tiger doesn't move the needle, Tiger is the needle. And, we got this thing coming up the Friday of Thanksgiving weekend, the match between Phil and Tiger, which is going to be on pay-per-view TV. Just so you know, I'm buying 7 of them. And it's going to be at Shadow Creek, a course where Tiger Woods holds the course record. He and Freddie Couples hold the course record at 60. And Phil Collins Phil Collins?
Did he sing?
Yes. You can't hurry, look.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Look, let me get through this outdoor Susu studio, okay? So Phil Mickelson earlier this week was talking with our Michael Collins, former caddy and our golf analyst, and he was talking a bunch of smack, saying this is going to be the easiest $9 million he's ever made. Well, Tiger was talking about the smack talk and Phil in his press conference yesterday after the round.
For many years, he's gotten the better of me, but Friday night, it's going to be the easiest 10 mil I've ever made.
So what everyone keeps asking me, smack talk.
I'm okay at it.
Is there a farm around here? I smell bull.
I'm not opposed to it at all.
Of course you're not. You're one of the best smack talkers out there.
Thank you.
So what's your approach, mentally, how you going to get in there with the little needle?
We have plenty of time to do that, and I've got to be careful because I'm hoping that we are teammates in the Ryder Cup, and I don't want to cause a stir yet, but in the first week of October, it will start to heat up.
Okay, hold on a minute. A couple of things. Yeah. You don't want to stir anything up, and you're saying it's the easiest $9 million you ever made.
Listen, he knows exactly what he's doing. You start it, you tease it out a little bit, and then you pull back and you say we got plenty of time in the start of October. Right. I loved it because we want to be teammates in the Ryder Cup, of which Tiger is pretty much guaranteed that spot. Right. 11th in the point standings there of the top 12, but Phil's on the outside looking in, but wants to be Tiger's teammate in all of this. The smack talk will be fun, but and that's what it's going to be. That's the one thing about this. We know there's going to be nothing. There's rivalries where you hear like boxers or MMA guys really going at it who don't like one another. Right. These guys, I think, are past the point of everything we heard earlier in their careers about not getting along, to where, a little with age comes a little bit of wisdom, and it seems like they're past that.
So that was what precipitated what you're about to hear. That was Michael Collins and Phil Mickelson, in no way, shape, or form Phil Collins, talking about the smack talk, and Tiger was asked about it after his round.
Phil started the smack talk early, saying that it's going to be the easiest $9 million that he's made. And you were talking about how this is like a boxing match. Do you see maybe a press conference where there's some smack talk back and forth? And how's your smack talk game?
I think I'm a minus 180 right now. That's all I'm going to say.
He went right to Vegas, didn't he?
Tiger don't play around. when he feels like someone's coming at him, like, remember Stephen Ames once said that he didn't think Tiger was so great, and they met in the match play, and Tiger won by the largest possible margin, which was 9-8. He was up 9 with 8 holes to play. Yeah. Someone said, "Hey, did what Stephen Ames say to you bother you?" He said, 9-8. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Advantage Tiger in this one. See, I'm very interested because this feels a lot like Mayweather-Pacquiao. When we finally got the fight, it was long after everyone really wanted the fight. We're still going to be interested. We're still going to buy in. But the smack talk aspect, we've got to let this happen naturally. We're goading it a little bit too much right now for my liking. I respect Phil trying to use this Kobe Bryant style to get himself in a conversation he doesn't belong in right now.
The Ryder Cup.
But when it comes to the actual match, I'm very interested in all seriousness what we're going to get, because this seems to come more naturally to Tiger. Phil is very in your face right now. Phil's got a brand right now that he's really leaning into, and I'm interested if it's going to give way to what we all want, which is to see, all right, as much as they're past a lot of the petty beef, when the mics get on and they're on the course and in the heat of it, if any of those old ghosts get dragged out, because that's what we're all really buying in for, right? Is if we can get that little pinprick of nostalgia with these two.
I don't know if that's going to happen, because Phil even loses at that. What was the one tournament where they were golfing together and the announcer is introducing them?
It was the Tour Championship in either 2000 or 2001, and what they do there is they list all the accomplishments of what they have done, and Tiger won like 4,000 tournaments that year and a couple of majors, and they were halfway through his introduction, and they're standing on the first tee, and Phil says, all right, just like I've heard enough. Yeah, I get it.
Phil loses in all of those conversations because of the wins, but I listen, these guys, let's be honest, they're in the twilight of their PGA career.
Right.
And Tiger's having an incredible resurgence that he didn't even see coming. He thought he was done golfing last year in 2017, so he's having a resurgence. Phil all of a sudden is wearing button-downs on being part owner of a shirt.
Mizzen in Maine.
He's dancing in commercials now.
He's taking Twitter selfies.
Kind of living his best life at 46 years old? 48? Is he 48?
48, yeah.
48 years old. By the way, he's 3 under in this tournament, the leader at 5 under. So they're kind of really enjoying himself right now.
It is fun to see them go back and forth. And then the coolest thing, I think, about the match that's coming up the Friday after Thanksgiving is there's going to be side bets.
There has to be, but we have to know about them. That's the thing.
Well, we should put that out on Golic and Wingo. What side bet would you want to see? Between Phil, I think there's going to be closest to the pin, longest drive. I mean, all that kind of stuff that you guys go out there with your buddies while you are, having the shotgunning the beer between holes and the drink cart. All the stuff that you do, they're going to be doing on this round. It's going to be epic.
Well, I need them to do that stuff because I keep looking at this and I say structurally, we understand you're out here at these tournaments when we watch it on TV, you see the cameras pan around in between holes. There's never any of that dead period. This is 2 guys golfing. There is going to be a lot of dead time of walking. How they splice this up and make this an actual television product, because we're all going to be in because we don't want to miss out.
Right.
Like the reason I'm going to buy this is so that I'm not left out of the conversation everyone else is having.
FOMO.
But when I get there, I'm wondering what we're actually going to get.
Yeah. You know, we've seen this before, though. I mean, they've done it before. Tiger and David had the show. Right. David Duval had the showdown at Sherwood. There was another match. I think it may have been Tiger and Sergio. I can't remember.
You got to find a way to spruce it up, though.
Yeah.
You do. It's going to be match play. We get it. We get all the normal golf things about it, but they have to do something, I think, to set off a few fireworks and to get that the casual fan is going to be there because it's Tiger and Phil.
Correct.
But to get even more, you're going to have to do something a little spicy.
Yeah, I think I remember in one of those events. I think it was the event with Tiger. I think it was Sergio was in the desert somewhere. They actually did from tee to green or from tee to green, like during the fairway, they were doing interviews in between them. So there'll be all that kind of stuff.
I think if you ever get up 3 holes on somebody, you have to drink a beer every time you're up 3 holes to kind of even it up.
Press or do something every time.
Tiger played the entire round in that shirtless Santa Claus picture.
Oh, there you go. With the goatee and the hat on.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. Mm-hmm. But again, we'll put it up on our Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo. What side bets would you want to see going down between Tiger and Phil as they prepare or as they play the match, which will be at Shadow Creek Country Club in Las Vegas the Friday after Thanksgiving. And again, it'll be a pay-per-view event. We'll see what happens. By the way, our guy Tony Finau is now at the chip and putt, Junior, or as you like to call it. He's at the chipping service. Now he's walking over to the putting green. Our guy Tony, who proves that he can still play well at the Masters after dislocating his ankles after a hole.
I'll get out at 100 yards, and we'll see if Tony can put him on my hands this time.
I like his chances a lot better than the way it was with you and Devi. No disrespect to Bubble Boy. We love you. Coming up, the best unit on America's team took a big hit the other day with the rarest of illnesses. And up next, we'll talk to the only guy who's ever had this disease and come back and played in the NFL at a very, very high level. We'll get to that after this.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Stolen another bit from the Le Batard show, killing people.
The fact that you had to sort of explain that says so much.
It was poor phrasing. I didn't mean to kill Ed.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. It seems like a great guy. Awesome pipes.
Son's out there doing his thing now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can say a lot looser in the sleeves, though.
Yeah.
He's working. It'd take a while to get up to legendary status of his dad, who's no longer with us on the field.
Yeah.
On the field. Again, we are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, live from the Northern Trust at Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our next guest, who is perpetually and forever going to be a friend of the show. It is our former colleague here at ESPN, Mark Schlereth, 3-time Super Bowl champ, who does a great job at ESPN 104.3 The Fan in Denver on his morning radio station. But the reason we're having Mark on today is he is the only player that we know of that can relate to what Travis Frederick, the Cowboys center, is going through. For those of you that may not have understood, the Pro Bowl center announced on Twitter that he's suffering from an autoimmune disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome, basically where it takes away the strength in your arms and your legs as your body attacks the nerve system. He is diagnosed with the disease after exhaustive tests. It is not known if he'll be able to play this season. It is a long-term prognosis. They think they caught it early. But why are we talking to Mark Schlereth about this? Well, not only because Mark's a great guy and he's an offensive lineman, he is the only player that we know of who has ever had this disease and come back to play, and play at a very high level, we should add, in the NFL, going to win the 2 Super Bowls after that diagnosis with the Denver Broncos. Hey, Stink, thanks for being with us this morning. How are you, champ?
I am doing great. Always good to be with you guys. Listen to you every morning when I'm driving in to do my show.
Well, listen, if we can help you do your show, then we've done our job. But listen,
I steal stuff from you guys every day, so it's just the way it goes. You know how this business is.
Yeah, well, we're stealing from you now because you are really the source on this. You went through this. Tell us a little bit about your story. I think it was after the 93 season or between the 93 and 94 seasons where you started to have the exact same symptoms that Travis had.
Yeah, in 1993, I went into training camp, and I just felt a little off. I felt lethargic a little bit. I just didn't have my normal stuff, and I didn't know what was going on. And as the season progressed, I was blocking guys, and I'd be like really in good position, and all of a sudden, the guy would be by me, or I'd fall down, and I had no idea what was going on. And then eventually, about midway through the season, I got done with a Wednesday practice. I cut the tape off my foot, my left foot, and my toes were numb. And I just assumed, my tape was probably too tight. We don't ever look at things. We're guys, right? We don't look at things and go, wow, I wonder if something's wrong. The tape's too tight. I wake up the next morning, and the bottom of my foot is completely numb and part of the top of my foot. And I get, over to the facility, and I talk to the doctor, and I talk to a couple people, and, it goes on throughout the course of the week. And then, after Thursday's practice, now my toes on my right foot are going numb. And by the time I got to Saturday to play the Giants, we were in the hotel. And my feet were completely numb. My hands were going numb. And of course, as a football player, what do? You show up to the game. You show up to the Meadowlands on Sunday with your feet completely numb and your hands completely numb, and you play because that's how dumb I am. And I'm stumbling around, getting tossed around. I thought I broke my leg. Because my ankle rolled a couple times. I ended up pulling myself out of the game, and then spent the next 8 days in the hospital trying to diagnose what was going on with me as my paralysis or my numbness creeped all the way up into about my knees. So the bottom of my whole legs were numb. From my elbows down were numb, and that lasted over 8 days. That's how numb I got. That lasted for about 6 months. I went from 295 to about 230. It was an absolute disaster. By the time I went back to camp in 1994, I was 270 coming back, and I still had about 4 or 5 toes that were completely numb. And I did not regain my strength. I played that season, but I did not regain my strength until about November, December of the 94 season. So in total, I was afflicted with this for about 17 months before I ended up getting my strength back and started playing well again.
Wow, that is unbelievable. So that was during the season. So with Travis Frederick, it's before the season. And again, they talked about an early diagnosis, which is good. But given what you just said and given when it was found out with him, do you have real doubts that he'll be able to play this season?
Yeah, I think obviously the treatments are different now, Mike. They found it early through blood testing. It's still a process of elimination, to the best of my knowledge. But now they do a dialysis where they actually take your blood out and cleanse it and use some medications, like some steroidal type of medications so you can hopefully get some of your strength back. But what you have to understand is the way it was explained to me is basically autoimmune. So your body is attacking itself. And it's like an allergic reaction to a flu virus or whatever virus you have, where your body actually attacks the protective waxy coating that's across all your nerves. So what ends up happening is the signal from your brain down to your extremities gets interrupted during the course of, whatever you're doing. And so your brain may be saying, hey, you need to move your foot 6 inches to the right, because this guy is moving. Like, we don't think about that. Your brain just does it. And all of a sudden that signal gets interrupted. And that's why I was blocking a guy. And next thing I know, I'd be on the ground because that signal goes down, but it gets interrupted going there. So So you can treat the body, and you could feel on the outside pretty good, but you could have some nerve damage, and sometimes the nerve damage is permanent, God forbid. Sometimes there's people that end up being paralyzed for the rest of their lives. I mean, it's a very serious disease, and the thing about it is everybody is affected differently. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Talking to Mark Schlereth, former NFL offensive lineman and someone who has come back from Guillain-Barré syndrome that Travis Frederick is attempting to now. And Mark, I'm interested just because during the course of your NFL career, we know a lot about the various knee surgeries, the other injuries that you had to overcome as a player that are a little more what we're used to. How is the rehab process and the process of coming back from this on a day-to-day basis so much different for you?
Because you can't do anything, Mike. I mean, you just, like, if I went downstairs, I'd always go downstairs in the morning and make sandwiches for the kids. That was like a day's work for me. I would go down and make their lunches, and then I would go back upstairs and I'd sleep for 3 hours. All you can do essentially is rest and hope that your body recovers. Wow. So there's the frustration of not being able to do anything. I mean, I was weak as a wet kitten when I finally came back in like March and started trying to work out again. I had no muscle memory. I mean, it was like starting over again from scratch. I was about 235, 240, offensive lineman rolling in there at 235. It was a devastating sickness. And I had my numbness, like I was completely numb. Like I said, from my knees down to my elbows down, I was completely numb for about 3 months. And then slowly, after 3 months, every couple of weeks, I would notice, hey, I've got about an inch more feeling in my legs. So it started just kind of dissipating, going down my legs. But that took another 3 or 4 months. And as I said, after 9 months of numbness, I still had 3 or 4 toes that were completely numb by the time I went back to training camp.
Wow. Mark Schlereth with us, our former colleague here, does a great job for us on the Fan 104.3 in Denver, ESPN Radio out there. Listen, we know you're driving in on your way to work, so we don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I just want to ask you, brother, have you had a chance to speak with Travis Frederick, or if you did, what would you tell him? I reached out to the Cowboys. I talked to the Cowboys. I've got a message into Travis, and the whole process of that is just to say, hey, man, moral support. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But what I would tell him is that, like, this is your health. It's far more important than playing. And just because, you start to feel better on the outside, understand that this virus attacks your central nervous system, which is in the inside of you, and you just don't know. And so, take your time and make sure that you're right. Make sure that those signals aren't being interrupted because, obviously, then you go out and your quarterback's life is in your hands, so to speak, and it just is one of those situations where it's time and you got to let it run its course. And I'm just prayerfully, considering that he's going to have a full recovery and he's going to be fine. But it's a very scary disease. And, about 85% of the people that get it, have full recovery, but there are still people, like I said, that I must have answered 100 things on Twitter yesterday, people telling me their stories where, they have permanent nerve damage or they're permanently paralyzed. It's a very serious disease, and it afflicts about 1 in 100,000 people. Well, listen, we're glad you fully recovered, and we're certainly hoping for the best for Travis Frederick. You were the one person to talk to on the story because there is no one else that can appreciate what Travis is going through and trying to do than you because you did it and went on to win 2 Super Bowls after it. So you are the success story that I'm certain that all the Cowboys fans and Travis Frederick's family and friends are pulling for. Stink, always good to hear you, brother. Love you, man.
Thanks, Stink. See you, man.
Love you guys. Later.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I had no idea that it was that bad, that serious.
It's terrifying because, like he said, we're all dumb when it comes to sports, and you have these external injuries and think you can overcome it. But the fear anytime something internal comes up with guys in the locker room because it's so far out of the realm of what you know. And so to hear all of that, I mean, God, the nerve. I remember when Jake was going through that with his back. The fear when you talk to someone and you can't feel from your waist down, you can't feel these certain things is so much different. So the fact that Mark reached out, that Zach and the rest of the that offensive line group I know will wrap their arms around him, but what a scary time for a young guy.
Absolutely, and we appreciate him coming up and sharing him and getting ready for work on the same day. All right, we got it. All right, coming up next, the Browns will have more wins than the Giants this season. Book it?
Oh, boy.
We'll get to that after this.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Oh, yeah.
The People's Court music?
Love it.
Feels
Get
good.
out of here.
Sports Center brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? With Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract, and they use the same exact 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
All right, Golic and Wingo here from the Northern Trust at the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. On phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we're multimedia.
Yes, we are.
We are doing it on Twitter. We are doing Book It on Twitter. So let's go. Let's start playing Book It, Junior.
All right, here we go, guys. Book It. You know the drill.
Did you know the drill? It looked like you didn't know what we were doing there.
Listen, I just housed a bacon, egg, and cheese right before we went on air to do that read, so I swallowed it whole like a shark. I'm not feeling great. Browns will win more games than the Giants this year. Book it.
Giants over under in Vegas is 7. Browns is 6. I will not book that. I think the Giants will win more games than the Browns this year.
Yeah, look, I'm excited for the Browns.
I am too.
And I think they will win games this year, not a game, but they've won one in the last 2 years. I will not book that in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, that's kind of weak. You know, I'm going to book it. We talk about how weak the AFC is comparatively as a conference to the NFC. You've got the Thunderdome over on the other side. I'm buying the Browns Kool-Aid, especially after last night. You see the Browns defense, the way they're playing last night. If that group can keep it up, if Myles Garrett has the year we're all predicting,
I also saw their offense.
All right, here we go. Locally, Odell Beckham Jr. will have a new contract before Week 1. Book it.
Absolutely book it. Without question. Book that. 3 other wide receivers from the 2014 draft are making at least $16 million a year. Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks. You can add Odell to that. He'll be making over $17 million, I believe, a year. That deal will get done.
Book it. It is going to get done very soon.
Yeah, I think this is an easy book it here, and this is one that makes sense and flies in the face of conventional wisdom. No holdout here, no problem. All right, speaking of preseason, Sean McVay will regret not playing his stars this preseason. Book it?
I don't think I'm going to book that. I mean, you can get away with what you want to in practice. Do your thing. You're not going to get a guy hurt in the preseason. I guess we're going to find out, but I'm going to go the way just to make the players happy to think that if you don't play, it'll be better for you.
Yeah, I'm not going to book that because I don't think Sean McVay does regret at all. He has a firm belief in what he does. And I don't think regret is part of his vocabulary, so no, he's not going to regret it.
The only thing they're going to regret is not paying Aaron Donald sooner.
Facts.
That's the one thing that has the chance to at least spike the beginning of the season as they break in all these new players. All right, here we go. Trey, I want to get this one in for you right now. Zlatan Ibrahimovic will score his 499th and 500th goals tonight. You can book it?
I am booking this in the strongest way possible. You can book anything. Look, he's gone 2 games without it. He's sitting there. He's waiting. It's the crosstown rivalry, and we all know when the moment is a little bigger, Zlatan is even more Zlatan. I am booking it. He gets 499 and 500 tonight.
I am not booking it. I think, as he said,
Zlatan is not happy with you.
Who's the victim going to be? Nobody wants to be that victim, so they're going to be really locked in to not let him get their 500th on that person.
I have no idea who he's playing against or the last time he scored 2 goals, but I have unwavering confidence in this man. Book it all the way.
You can book it. If you could describe Zlatan in one phrase, it would be unwavering confidence. Coming up, we'll talk to a coach who is getting his best offensive player and his best defensive player back this season. How happy is he? As happy as we are to be at a golf course on a Friday morning and not anywhere else.
Book it.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here.